you're going to be able to set up systems where people can choose to either pay in cash the old way or pay with digital currency. And if they pay with digital currency, then they get limited NFTs. Now, the difference here is this. It's fundamentally an innovative approach where people are not merely products and beneficiaries of technology anymore, but they become models that allow them to build and control their own new digital assets. And those digital assets will be very unique. But more importantly, with the emergence of an open internet, such as Web3, the third generation of the internet. So we had Web 1, which was static. Web 2, social media, and we started more interaction. Web 3 is the third generation. We also get things called smart contracts and decentralized applications. And the term for a decentralized application is called a DApp. Once it goes live, that's it. It's in the ether and everybody has access to it. And that's the exciting part, because that's where the creative minds of the world are going to change the world. These systems are still new, but this is what's happening. And of course,
hello, Nicolas. Tell us a little bit about Web 3.0, how Groove integrates with all of this. As you're the CTO of GrooveAsia, definitely have to know more about this topic. You know so much, like just as we started the recording, you were telling me that you were talking to the founder of the internet just recently and how Groove ties into all of this. So welcome to the interview and let our audience know a little bit about yourself, like how you got started and what this is all about.
well, thanks, Martin. It's great to be here. I've been involved, just for people with a background, to give me a bit of background. I've been involved with marketing, online, website development, and tech stacks for over 30 years. So I've been doing this for a very, very long time. I have degrees in marketing, in digital technologies. I have a law degree, and I have degrees in other areas as well, which all sort of correlate to what we're doing, right? So I've been around for a long, long time. When Groove started, I was one of the first people in on the ground. I'd been following Mike for many, many years as well. And of course, Simon Leung and I connected not long after that, and we started discussing GrooveAsia. And of course, that's where GrooveAsia and the expansion into the Asian market has come from. So as you mentioned, I'm now the CTO of GrooveAsia, so the Chief Technology Officer. So I'm running a lot of stuff in the background. I get to see a lot of stuff before it happens. I get to see all the problems and do all the troubleshooting and, all the fun stuff that makes your hair go gray, as you can see, right? So yes, but it's really, really interesting. It's definitely a time to get online. If you're a business, you need to be online, but there are massive changes coming to the industry, especially in the area of leads and lead generation. And we're going to be talking a little bit about that and how that integrates with Web3 and Web3 technologies.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like Groove to me is like one of the most exciting platforms out there. It has so many promises for the future. I mean, in 2020, like when they used the butterfly marketing strategy, basically giving a part of their software away for free and then upselling them in some kind of a Kickstarter program to the full version, so you get lifetime access to all the apps, all the future developments of them. And this offer really took off. And Mike Feldsheim, a friend of mine and the CEO of, he really had this vision. He created this marketing framework, and like he's also one of the smartest people, like, and marketers with the technology background alive. So I'm really curious about like what's the state of the Groove platform, where it's going, and especially since they brought back a lifetime deal with a slightly higher price now than it was before, because like obviously now there's much more like software apps available. Not all of them as of now, and not all of them are working perfectly, and things take a lot of time. But I've also talked to a CEO of one of your competitors, and he says, of course it takes longer, it's software. So tell us a little bit what makes Groove different than the other software tools out there, and why it's different, and maybe why there are still like some problems, and why it's taking longer.
Well, I mean, one of the biggest things here is that we've got what we call a fully integrated dashboard. And if you're in marketing or you're trying to do anything with an online business, whether you're new or you're experienced, one of the things that you realize very quickly is that you need to be using multiple applications, right? So you need a web development platform. Sometimes you might want funnels platform, and I'd highly recommend you have funnels for different reasons, right? But then there's also your email marketing, there's your video hosting, there's blogs, there's e-commerce, there's all of the different tools. And the problem with this is, for a lot of people, is that they have trouble doing what we call integration, right? Unless you're a coder or you understand JavaScript or PHP or, even some basic HTML, the development systems have come such a long way that what we've managed to do in Groove is to put all of those systems into one dashboard so that you do not have to learn how to connect APIs and go and work out different systems like Zapier and Cloudflare and all the integrations, right? We do that for you. So you have one single login to access all of these tools. Now, to do that, it means from time to time, as we're updating one of the apps, it might make a slight change to the connections and systems of some of the other apps. And of course, if you're in development, one of the things you realize very quickly is that the smallest change can have a rippling effect, right? Positive or negative. And that's the great thing. We get a lot of feedback from the community about what's going right, but not as often as we get feedback about what's not going right, right? They're very quick to tell us. And look, we're very appreciative of it, because if you look at software, there is no real end point. There's no, that's it, it's finished. It's not like that. Software is like a human, right? It's like a baby. It continues to grow. And if you look at the big companies as well, if you look at Facebook, if you look at Google, if you look at Yahoo, if you look at Microsoft software or anything like that, you will know reasonably, right, that there are always bug fixes. There's ongoing security issues that you've got to deal with. So we have a massive team that's dealing with this all the time. And of course, we try to get it as stable as we can before we add in the next product, thinking ahead, knowing what's coming. And of course, over the next couple of months and by the end of the year, for those that are in the Groove system, they're going to realize that there are another 5 apps coming. And we're really, really excited about that, right? I'm not going to say too much about it, but there are some really incredible opportunities coming. And at the end of the day, those that are in business that don't want the headache of dealing with multiple companies, multiple platforms, multiple sales, they can have it all in one place, and you've got one place to go and get help and support when and if you need it.
Yeah, like that's what I know that Mike did really successful already with his previous company, Katra, which at this point is currently like the most like stable platform, because they really took the time back then. They announced the platform and then they basically went silent for 3 or 4 years to develop everything, test everything. And when Groove launched, Mike decided to go a different route. Like he decided to have this start as a Kickstarter and then really take in all the feedback from the community. But as you said, it also means like you're working on a live system. People have live websites and everything, and every time you introduce a new like feature or make something better, it might also mean that at some point, like, yeah, you accidentally break something. I'm sure that you have like some back testing, and I already noticed like the like first in the beginning stages, it was like, yeah, just give it to everyone as fast as possible, and then you notice like, oh, maybe that's not the best approach, or at some point it's not the best approach anymore. Now once we have people there, people who maybe run paid ads to their pages, they make sales, they run their businesses on Groove. Now we cannot just put updates out there whenever we release a new app. We just need to make sure that it's working properly right from the start. And so I've noticed this change in the last 3 years. And as you said, like I just grabbed one book from my library about what you talked about. Like this is from Jaron Lanier, and he talked about a lot about like that software is always, especially as software gets bigger, like you have this kind of log in. And this is probably something that makes me excited about Groove, because you're building this on a complete new technology, while all your competitors and most of your competitors are locked into the old, like technology frameworks. And I think this is probably one of the biggest reasons why Groove like has such a like really good and like exciting future, and while your competitors might be struggling, maybe not right now, maybe right now there might be ahead in some areas, for example like in the area of stability, but Groove, like once everything is integrated, built on the new technology, it's like it's a game changer, and will make your business like future proof for the next decade or 2 decades or 3 decades. I don't know, like things are moving fast, but can you tell us a little bit about this, like how Groove is different from a technology standpoint, and things like this?
Yeah, sure. I mean, one of the things about moving forward, right, is that technology is always moving forward. And one of the things that we looked at Groove is the fact that the underlying code bases that were being used for older platforms are no longer fit for purpose. In other words, they don't take into account things like Web3 moving forward. They don't take into account the Internet of Things and this connected data systems that are being built globally, right? And so Mike got really, focused on this and started to look for a new technology that he could build the Groove platform on. And of course, we have it. Now, most of our competitors, while they are a little bit more stable in some areas, not so stable in others, they are putting themselves in a position where within, a year, for some of them, as close as a year, for some of them maybe a little bit longer, their platforms are going to start to fall over because they've integrated into systems with the larger organizations, as we know. A lot of companies have to, and you don't have a choice, right? When you're developing software, you have to integrate with companies like Amazon and the AWS services. You have to integrate with Google, and you have to integrate with the big social media companies. Now, they're all moving a shift technology-wise. Again, they have no choice. And one of the reasons for that is because of Web3. Now, Web3 is a massive change in the way that the internet is going to take control of data. So if you don't mind, Martin, what I'll do is I want to give people a bit of a background information on where the web was and where we're going, because I know a lot of people have heard about Web3, but Web3
that was actually my next question. Like, can you explain like what Web3 actually means and where does this come from? Because like, even though I have a technology background and I'm pretty like I try to stay on top of these things, but I still really do not know about these definitions and things like this. So maybe you can explain this in plain English so everybody can understand what we're talking about here.
Well, I'll do my best. There are some vernaculars and a few new technological words, but I'll try and explain them to help people understand clearer what's going on. So Web3, as far as Web3 is concerned, it's really a new, what we call foundational layer of the World Wide Web, right? It's fundamentally an innovative approach to help to do things like corporate governance and value creation and what we call stakeholder participation. So it presents an opportunity where people are not merely products and beneficiaries of technology anymore, but they become models that allow them to build and control their own new digital assets, and those digital assets will be very unique. But more importantly, the technology and how it is harnessed, especially with the emergence of an open internet such as Web3 and the it's a technological contest for our times, right? It really is true and urgent that people understand the provisioning and even the basic services that are going to be riding on the back of this system, because standard bricks and mortar or fixed lines have already reached a point of diminishing returns, which is what I was talking about a few moments ago, right? This old technology has peaked and it's now at a diminishing return. So apart from the earth itself and human aspiration, right, the world's most abundant resource that we know of nowadays is actually data, right? And Web3 will give us a new way to actually compartmentalize and monetize that data. Now, at the moment, big companies are doing that. But what Web3 is going to allow people to do is to take back control of their own data and monetize their own data, which is really important. So let's just have a look here from what I would call from the past to the future, right? So in the beginning, it's what we call the web, right? And it was simply known as the web. And at this stage of the game where websites were developed, they were pretty much portals or online services where users could read information, but they didn't have a chance to have any direct interaction with them. Right. So it was basically called a static web. If anybody was involved way back then, it was things like billboards and chat boards, right, where somebody could put something up, but they couldn't communicate back. It was one way. It was like push technology, like a TV or a radio is today. It's push technology. Now, with the evolution of some web supported based technologies, Web 2 gradually arrived. And what we had was an emergence of things like the social networks, applications such as blogs, forums, podcasts, and a lot of other new and communicative possibilities began to happen. But in fact, due to the development of these new tools, users began to communicate with each other, and that's where they started to share their own content. Now, in this step, users who were once just passive obviously became holders and creators and managers of the online content, and they started building new processes and integrations, which is why Web 2 has been dubbed a collaborative web, where more people are collaborating together. Now, in the early days of Web 2, you know, it was difficult to begin with. People didn't understand everything about it, but they understood that there was a shared understanding in the innovative technology and that it was going to be transformational. And it was. It's definitely been transformational. But that it would change the way we communicate and work and even play was some type of a utopian view for internet users in general, right? Now, although that's come to fruition, one of the other sides of it that wasn't taken into account was the darker side of it. And we've seen that over the last decade or so, right? So data breaches, election interferences, and it's clear that at this time, for a lot of people, mate, the internet is not really a safe place or a safe haven as most people once thought it was. So if there was a way to build a new internet, one that was secure, decentralized and democratized and had the power to transform the way we interact with each other in the digital world, what would that be? Well, technically, that's the promise of Web 3, right? It's often referred to, and a lot of people would have heard this term, the metaverse. And I'm sure you've heard that term yourself, right? The metaverse. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, like I was just thinking when I have this book in front of me from Jaron, like he talked about a lot of the problems. He has another book that I have in my shelf, like 10 arguments to delete your social media accounts right now. And especially the problems that you talked about, like with having like Facebook built this centralized system where we basically, we have a free account. They offer free services, but essentially we are the ones who create the data for them. We are building things for them, and they harvest all this data with their AI technology and then because there's so many people on there, their AI is really good and it can serve ads better than I've talked to an ad expert, and he told me Facebook knows more about me than my wife. Obviously this is all stored in algorithm, but the algorithm probably knows better what I'm going to buy next, which software I'm going to buy next than my wife.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's what's happening right now. The funny thing about Web3 or the metaverse, right? Like the term, a lot of people don't realize this, but the term was actually coined by from a famous fiction novel called Snow Crash. And it was written by Neil Stephenson. And that predicted the virtual reality world as an evolution of the internet, right? And we're starting to see that. Now, Web3 literally is it's the third generation of the internet, right? So we had Web 1, which was static, Web 2, social media, and we started more interaction. Web 3 is the third generation, and it's going to be built on a philosophy that the internet should be decentralized, right? It should be a decentralized network of computers rather than the central ones that we have now, where big tech companies have central servers, governments have central servers, and they're just collecting all of this data on us constantly. And we have become the product. That's literally what's happened, right? We've become the product. So this means that with Web3, there'll be no single point of failure and no central authority controlling the flow of information. Now, one thing I really want to point out here, though, is that the metaverse should not be confused with Web3, right? Web3 is the third stage of development of the World Wide Web, but the metaverse actually refers to the virtual reality-based parallel internet that sits on top of it that allows us to interact with each other using digital objects in a digital 3D space, right? It's a little bit different. It's an extension of the internet into the third dimension, which is what Neil Stephenson was talking about in his book Snow Crash, right? It's exactly what he was talking about.
So you're talking about some kind. I think there was this really popular game like Second Life or something where it always like it already had this kind of vision, but then like there was huge excitement and there were like virtual land sold for like thousands of dollars, and some people like even became millionaires. But then like the hype ebbed off a little bit, and now like it's a ghost town or something. So how will the metaverse be different, and like who will create this? Like I know that Facebook just renamed themselves to Meta, and like who will create like this digital landscape? Like this is something that I cannot really understand, because like it should be decentralized, but like how will this work on a more like practical level? Like if I'm here, like will I have like a 3D like glasses and like walk in a virtual reality, or will I look at my like phone somewhere, or like on my desktop computer, or like where will I enter this, and how will this like look like on a little bit more like practical level?
Yeah, well, and that's a good question, right? And I hear that a lot, because the object of Web3 is to make it immersive and interactive, right? That's the object of it. It's to help people to create what we call an avatar. Now, you may have heard of that term in a marketing term, but in a virtual world, an avatar is something that expresses who you are in a three-dimensional world, right? So, I mean, you could be anyone you like, right? You could look as tall as you want, you could be what color you want, you could have the hair you want, dress the way you want. And a lot of companies are investing a lot in this, and it's exciting. But what a lot of people don't understand is that Web3 is more about blockchain technology and concepts, right? It's really about building it out on the blockchain. And so it's not going to be an individual company or an individually controlled asset, because as I mentioned before, it's a decentralized asset, right? That allows people to create what we call a digital identity. You may have heard of those. They're becoming, that term's becoming a lot more frequent, digital identity. And we also get things called smart contracts and decentralized applications. And the term for a decentralized application is called a DApp, DAPPS, DApps, right? Which stands for decentralized application. In other words, the application, and if we're talking about applications, think about an application on your phone, a Facebook application, a Twitter application. What we're saying here is that instead of these applications connecting back to one company and one server, these dApps will run across multiple places, and they're decentralized. Nobody will control the dApp, so to speak, right? It will be put onto the internet just like the blockchain was, and everybody has access to it. Once it goes live, that's it. It's in the ether and everybody has access to it. And that's the exciting part, because that's where the creative minds of the world are going to change the world. And you know it's going to change, right? It's going to change massively, because the metaverse's primary goal is to generate experiences, and to establish a new system of ownership and financial structures so that the individual has control over their future rather than corporates and corporate governance does currently, right? Power to the people. That's what this is. And we all know over the last 10 years or so, man, there's been an uproar around the world, people wanting their power back. They're taking to the streets all the time. Unfortunately, taking to the streets is not going to change the system. The way we change the system is to get involved in what's happening. And some people understand what's going on because there's been an active movement in what we call, probably over the last couple of years, of what we call NFTs. And you've probably heard that term as well, right? So what is an NFT? Well, it's what we call a non-fungible token. And basically, it's a way that you can serve products or services to somebody else to allow them to buy them and sell them on to others, just like a commercial system that we have now. But it's a digital way to do this with the help of cryptocurrencies that are run on the blockchain. And that is the Web3 infrastructure. It's really, really simple. It's not as complicated as people think, right? And the way forward with Web3, well, the bottom line is that we're moving towards this immersive Web3. And even if we can only speculate what it will be like, every brand will need to have a virtual strategy. Every company, every brand, every individual.
I'm thinking about how does this look on like more practical level, like me as a thought leader, as a information product creator, as a coach, as somebody who wants to sell something, like let's stay in the information realm, but I'm sure there's also options to have physical products like a mug with some kind bundle to an NFT or something. But for me as an information product creator, as somebody who's working for example helping somebody to lose weight or improve their relationship, how does this how am I affected, or how can I take advantage of this new technology, and how can I take advantage of this with Groove?
Well, that's the thing, right? Because one of the things that people are going to understand here is with this shift in the way that we're going to be conducting ourselves online, right? We have these digital identities, we have this digital infrastructure, the way we're going to be running transactions on the blockchain using different types of cryptocurrencies and NFT. Remember, that's only the digital side of it. There's still a physical side to what we need to do. And so there's no set rules at the moment. That's the thing, right? There are no set rules at the moment on how do you integrate these new digital technologies with physical technologies. There are a lot of great concepts out there, but what the individual needs to do is to dive in to Web3 and get an understanding of what tools are available, and they need to analyze those themselves so they can work out what will fit into their current business model. Now, for digital entrepreneurs, people that are selling product, people that are, let's say, coaches, maybe they're selling software, right? Maybe you're selling your own courses. The advent of things like NFTs means that you're going to be able to use multiple variants to take payments. So you can have multiple ways to communicate with people. And I'll give you a good example. A lot of people have been looking at these chat boards over the last decades, right? Now what they've done is they've moved these chat systems into server-based relay systems. Some of you may have heard of terms like the Cloudberries system or the DeepL system for language translations, where you can speak in one language and have it automatic translated in real time to somebody else, right? These systems are still new, but this is what's happening. And of course, you're going to be able to set up systems where people can choose to either pay in cash the old way or pay with digital currency. And if they pay with digital currency, then they get limited NFTs. Now, the difference here is this. If I sell you a digital product now, right? A digital product now, and I sell it to you, you have the ability to give access to that to anyone you like. You can give it away. You can do whatever you like with it. With an NFT and something that's on the blockchain, that's a different story. Because when you buy something from me that's sitting on the blockchain that has a hash rate and an NFT behind it, unless you're the holder of the NFT, you cannot get access to the digital options like the digital ebooks or the software or whatever else is attached to it, unless you're the holder. And you can prove through the blockchain that you are the holder, and that's where those digital identities come in. Unless you can prove you're the holder of that, you cannot get access to it. But here's the other thing.
So that means like on a practical level, like if I have like a video built into like a secure membership area, like people will only be able to play that video if if there's proof of like proof of concept that they bought this access like to this specific video or membership through me, through the Groove system, basically.
Exactly. And that's exactly what we're moving towards, right? And so if I wanted to give that video to you, let's say I bought it and I wanted you to view it, there are only two ways to do it. I would have to send you a link as to where you could purchase it to get access to it, or I sell you my NFT. So I sell you my access to it. You then have access and I no longer have access. So the original creator of the video, you, got paid the first time they sold the NFT and they sold the access, right? When that NFT is sold on, here's the brilliant part. The original creator gets paid again.
Ah, okay, cool.
So he doesn't, so unlike current systems where if I pass it on to somebody else as the original creator, I miss out. It's gone, right? It's sold once, that's it, it's done. This way, if I as a consumer want to on-sell my product, just like the original author did, I can do that. But the original author of the product is still getting paid for every transaction that happens. Every transaction that happens, whether it's them selling it direct to a customer or the customer on-selling it to another customer.
Yeah, that sounds but yeah, like from a practical example, like I'm selling like a membership for let's say like $1,000, and then like they would be selling it for $100. Yeah, okay, like it depends a little bit. Like if they consumed it and they just want to make some money back, and they're selling it for like let's say $100, so 10 times less. Like how much would I make additionally as a creator or something, or like how would this kind of contracts be structured?
That's a great question, right? And I get asked that all the time. It's like, oh, well, hang on, can't they just sell it for whatever they want? No, they cannot, because with the NFT comes what we call a smart contract. And it's smart, right? It knows. It says that the minimum resale price of this product is X. That the original owner of the product, no matter whether you sell it at this minimum point and it sets a minimum price that it can be sold at, or an ongoing price in the future, like you sell it at 1,000, it might be very limited and it goes up in price over time because you've only sold so many, and maybe the next person sells it at 10,000. Right? And we've seen this happen with NFTs, right? This happens all the time. But the thing here is that the underlying smart contract that's tied to the NFT says, number one, you will not be able to sell this on for less than X, and that can be built into the contract for the NFT. And number two, it also says no matter what you sell it for within the bounds of the contract, the original owner will always get X dollars out of that payment. And so because it's on the blockchain, when it's sold, the second time to the second customer, a percentage of the sale automatically gets shifted to the original owner. You're not waiting on the customer to send you something like I would normally, where I'm doing some sort of marketing and I pay you or I do something with you, and then you're going, well, you're going to have to wait until I get paid by this company or that company. No. It's instant. Bam, boom, it's on the blockchain. So everybody benefits. And what it does, what this will do is make sure that Every transaction is open. Every transaction is transparent. Every transaction has a forced accountability and a forced honesty built into it. And that is one of the most exciting things ever, because it means you as the creator have control.
Okay, so now I'm really thinking about, like, again, on a practical level, because like I'm as a user of the Groove system, and like also like of other systems like Katra and Go High Level. Like currently we're using payment processors like Stripe or PayPal or GroovePay. Like how will this change, and like is this already like built in like in the underlying code of the Groove platform, like for this change to Web 3.0, 3.0, like when this will happen, like in maybe like 2 or 3 years or something, and then suddenly like everybody like requests this, or like how do you think this change will happen, like from being reliant on like a payment processor like Stripe or something to the blockchain, where basically the interaction is just between you and me, just like it is with Bitcoin right now?
Yeah, well, I don't think that's the one thing about this. I don't think it's going to happen with the Groove platform. I know it's going to happen with the Groove platform, right? I know the underlying code base. The underlying code base is built with these new technologies. It's designed to move forward into these new economies. And so at some point, no ETA, so don't jump up and down and ask me when, anybody that may be watching the replay, right? Don't ask me when, but we are definitely in a position here where we're going to be allowed and help people allow themselves to set up their payment systems using the blockchain. And it will be quite easy, right? At the moment, it's a little bit convoluted. You have to understand what a wallet is. You have to go and get a digital wallet. But I say to people, like, a digital wallet is just like a bank account, right? It's exactly the same. It's just online. It's an online bank account, right? In theory, that's what a digital wallet is. But once you have one of those, then you'll be given a code. Now, inside of Groove at the moment, a lot of people who are, let's say, embedding videos, or they want to embed a form from another provider, you know, within Groove that you can just click a few buttons and get a code, and you just take that code and you pop it into your page, and boom, you know, there's a payment form. It's going to be no different. It is going to be no different when we get to these digital technologies and be able to integrate the blockchain. It's fantastic. I'm excited, and so should everybody else, right? Because we are one of the only companies outside of the big boys, and I'll show you some stuff in a minute in regards to that are actually moving fast towards this technology.
Well, please go ahead and share this with us.
All right. So look, one of the other things about the stages of the web, right, the Web 3, is that, first of all, it was difficult to pinpoint when Web 3 started, right? And this is because web development, as I mentioned before, with software, it's a process. And so there's no real start date, there's no real end date. But, you know, many argued, believe it or not, that Web 3 started back in 2006. And I would have to agree with that. I reckon the fundamental underlying issues of some of the technology that we're using now, it did start back then. It could have even started maybe a year or two earlier. But the actual phrase of Web 3, for most people, they didn't hear about it until 2014. So let's think about this. That's 8 to 10 years after its invention. So what I want people to think about is this. Where we are now, you're only just hearing about this stuff. Where do you think it's going to be in 10 years? Do you think it's going to be the same? Wrong. We are going to change massively and quickly, right? But like, while all this is quite intriguing for people, there's one thing that you need to know. Development of Web 4 and Web 5 is already underway. It is already underway, and it is going to change. And so we're making sure that we're looking at what's happening in the future. As Mike says, future proofing your business. And we take that very seriously. Now, Web 4, you may not have heard of, but you would have heard of the concepts behind it, because I guarantee you're already using them. And in fact, Web 4, from a practical application standpoint, which is what you're interested in, Martin, and probably many of your listeners, has already been available. Web 4 is known as the mobile web. Now, who doesn't have a mobile phone? Put your hand up, right? If you don't have a mobile phone. But Web 4 is about mobility and voice interaction. Voice interaction. This is critical. This is what I want people to understand. It's voice interaction between the user and AI and robot technology. Now, we're already seeing the first generation of this stuff come out in the last couple of years. Alexa, Bing, you talk to all these different devices and mobile devices, right? So that is going to be integrated then with the blockchain, and that the Web3 development stacks and the Web4 development stacks are going to merge together, just like the telephone and the radio did to give us mobile phones, right? This tech stack is going to merge. Therefore, Web4 actually currently changes the relationship between humans and robots and creates a more symbiotic interaction. You would have to say that, right? Because if I ask Google something, it gives me an answer back. If I ask Google Maps something, it tells me where to go in a nice way, right? Maybe not so if you're Alexa. But in the fourth stage of the web, humans will and have consistently access to robots, and they're doing it every day. They don't even realizing it. And we're becoming increasingly dependent on these machines. We are dependent on these things. And it's not just for marketers, right? I want you to think about every infrastructure on the planet. I want you to think about transport. I want you to think about food supply. I want you to think about everything that touches your life on a daily basis. And these technologies are in there already. And do you honestly think that your business is going to be able to stand up living on past technology in the next couple of years? Not a chance. Not a chance. You're going to have to move forward.
Sounds really excited. So what do you expect? Like, obviously you cannot give any ETAs or something, but what do you expect? Like, how fast will this technology change take? For example, like I like this is my personal view here. I was in Cambridge in 2005, and they were like all like about like this 3D printing technology, and they were telling us like, yeah, in just a couple of years you will go just to a shopping mall and get your sneakers printed right in the shop, and like everything will be 3D printed, and like we will 3D print houses. And then I wrote my diploma thesis about this in 2012, and then I noticed like, yeah, there's all these like little problems that people did not think about, like how do the different materials like work inside of a printing machine, and like it's always like really limited applications. And like same with AI was in my terms like invented like probably like in 1993. People were already using AI to solve chess problems and things like this with Deep Blue, and well, 1995, I do not remember the exact date, but it was in the early 90s. So like I personally see people like, especially the ones who are involved in this, like the science, the innovators, they overestimate how long it will really take to be popular. But on the other hand, we've seen like the mobile phone introduction like in 2000 and what was it, 7 or something, when Steve Jobs introduced the iPhone, and this has changed the world in like basically no time. But yeah, what do you think is the timeline for all of this?
Well, that's another great question. And I always say to people, it depends on the individual piece of technology we're referring to, right? Because the thing here with Web3, Web4, and Web5 is that we're not dealing with one piece of technology anymore. We're dealing with multiple layers, what I call a layer stack or a tech stack. And I've been talking about this for several months now. And it really depends on the tech stack and the innovators within those particular tech stacks. And I'll give you a really good indication here. And this is relatively new. This will surprise a lot of people, that on June the 10th, 2022, right? June the 10th, that's not so many days back, right? A lot of people may be surprised with the news that what they call TBD, and I've got a presentation from them that I'll show you in a minute, but TBD is a subsidiary of Block, which is Twitter co-founders Jack Dorsey's announcement about the launch of the Web5 platform within Twitter, right? It's moving. They are not waiting. This thing is happening. And although many have only heard of Web5 probably today for the first time, or maybe when they heard the headline on the 22nd, or the 10th, I should say, of June, like, it's an open, connected, intelligent web, right? Now, this is different because they're calling this the emotional web. So now what we're saying is fully interconnected data across everything in an open source, decentralized system that will allow you to not only communicate with the robots, but the AI by them will be getting so intelligent that it will be able to decipher emotional patterns, not emotions. I must make that clear. It will not decipher emotions, but emotional patterns. And you will be able to communicate with it in real time, and it will in real time communicate back to you, right?
Wow.
This is immense, right? Now you start adding in virtual reality, we add in the metaverse, we add in mobile communication, and we stack these layers together, and the future is looking very, very, very exciting. I'm very excited about this future, and with what we're going to be able to do with Groove is going to be amazing. And the reason also that this is important is that all of the big tech companies are also moving from the current model that they've got, which is centralized control, centralized servers, into decentralized systems and DApp-based systems, so that you will be able to have control of your data. Now, what does that mean for you as a business owner right now? It means that if you do not start building a new diversified, decentralized system to collect leads, your objectives of being able to collect leads on platforms like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram are already on a diminishing return. If you don't do it now, if you don't build your list now, if you don't build your integration systems now, well, you might have a little bit more trouble doing that later.
Okay, so what does this again, like trying to understand from a more like practical perspective, because essentially what I want as a business or content creator is reach as many people as when I basically want. So like, but right now if I'm using a chatbot on Facebook, like they control like when like they can ban my account and limit my ability to reach people. Or we've seen the same with Facebook pages, like in the beginning.
Yep.
You got a huge reach and your post was shown to everybody, and then the algorithm took over and Facebook took over and decided to change it the way they liked it. And that's why still everybody to this day says like email is the most like secure way to reach your leads, because basically you control the communication way. You decide when to send an email to somebody, and you control this as a business owner. Obviously there's laws in place like that people can unsubscribe from these services, but basically what do you think will be new ways for us to reach these leads, or like collect leads, or like will it still be email, or will it be like also like I collect info, like the permission, like you mentioned Twitter, to send out a tweet to certain people or to their inbox in Twitter, or like on this decentralized places?
Yeah, great question again. And it's a moving, shifting landscape, right? It's like trying to parasail on a glacier at the moment, because like it's moving, but it's slow. And we don't know where it's going to go. But one of the things that we do understand about this is that it is shifting. And so this decentralization is coming in, which means what ultimately you're probably going to need to do is, number one, you get email is going to have a massive resurgence without doubt, right? And so what you need is an email marketing platform that can do, though, more than just email. You want to be able to integrate into those tech stacks I was talking about before, Web 3, Web 4, and the emergence of Web 5. And how do you do that? Well, we know that collecting phone numbers and doing SMS marketing is another way, right? You can also do postcards and physical deliveries to people via an email system. We have all that already in Groove. It's already there for you, right? And we've got more tools coming, and that's just inside that one app. But the other thing I want to say to people is Web 3, Web 4, Web 5, this is why I'm saying to you, you need to get in and have a look at it. How about somebody who creates a new decentralized DApp, right? Your own company DApp, where you allow people who have similar ideas to communicate freely inside your company's DApp. You allow them to do what they can currently do on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram now. You give them that autonomous, right? And you can send them out a copy of your DApp, and guess what? It's not going to cost you anything. It's not going to cost you anything but a bit of time to develop it, and then it can go out and end up on their PC. It can end up on their mobile phone. It can end up on their laptop.
So one question that really sparks to mind, you mentioned like Twitter is leading this Web 5, and but there's no like from my point of view, there's no incentive for Facebook or for Twitter or like for Google like to really push this, like if it takes away their power to serve ads, which is their business model, like they're controlling the like most of the traffic, like the 5 biggest companies, like or 6 or whatever it is, like there's no incentive from them to build all of this, or like what's the incentive there, because like it will basically erode their business model.
That's exactly what people are thinking, and they are so wrong about that. Because let's remember that we are talking about decentralization, yes, but we are also talking about the emotionalization of information. Now, the individual will have control of their information. They have control of their information, but the information is also uni-platform accessible because it is on an open network. So these companies are still going to be able to get access to the data and know, oh, this person gets emotional about these types of movies or this type of book, or they'd like to get involved. So they will still have a platform that allows them to market to you. It will just be a lot different than what it looks like now. And the individual will have more control about where and when they share their information, and whether these companies can have access to that information in the first place, which we don't have now. Because as you know, I want to get on Facebook or Twitter, I gotta, yes, I agree. Let's read 600 pages of documents before we agree.
The way I would imagine this is like in the future, basically for like on the practical level, like Google will say you will only get access to Google Maps, and there's a Google Maps service. Like if I agree, so they will incentivize us in one way or the other, again, like to share our data with them, to get access to their services, and then they like it will probably continue to be ads or something like this. Like if we like want to use their service, we still need to share our data, or like well, however it will look like.
Yeah, I mean, there'll still be the advantage of having to share data. That's not going to change, Rob. But what we're saying here is that you will have more control over what you share, and of course, this is where the digital economy is going to boom, because the underlying essence of the information, e.g., all of the information that's currently on Google Maps. Now, people don't realize Google Maps is not the only mapping company out there. There are others out there that are actually bigger. They are more fine-grained, and they are more dedicated to certain subsections of certain communities or certain types of industries, like travel for hotels or car rental companies. And this stuff is all moving. And so what's going to happen is people are going to go, well, I don't need to have all of this information from a behemoth like Google. I just want this information over here. So instead of giving my information on maps to Google, I'm going to go with another DApp over here, a smaller company, someone who I can build a relationship with. And we all know about relationship marketing, right? If you don't, it's time to start learning, because that's where we're heading.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that's one of my favorite frameworks. Like, or the frameworks that I'm trying to give away to people, essentially telling them like, whenever you want to sell to somebody, you have to build a relationship first. You have to sell yourself first, and then. But it's also the way that people see results. Like in my eyes, it like you can basically get the same information about like how to rank a Google video or like a YouTube video. Like you can buy that for $10, like a course on like one of the like smaller platforms, or like even learn that for free on YouTube, or you can pay $10,000 on this, and it will be worth $10,000, because if you relate to the creator of this course and to the coach, and you actually implement what he says because you relate to him, then yeah, you learn new behavior, and this will change the way you think, and then you will actually get like through this repeated behavior that the person that you related to, if you implement this, then you will also see the results, because yeah, this like if you start implementing and taking action on certain frameworks that have been proven to be effective, like you will get results. Just like if you cut calories and move more, like you will get fitter, like there's no way around this. And or like if you eat more vegetables, like there's different theories about this, but if you just do the fundamental basic things, like you will get results. It's the same in business, it's the same in health, and it's the same in relationships. Like if you're more attentive, if you pay more attention, like things like this, then like you will have a better relationship, you will get healthier, like and in business you will make more money. It's just the way it is, but it all depends on you relating to the person, like that inspires this hope, that inspires you to take action, that motivates you. And this is why Tony Robbins gets paid like $1 million dollar for taking on a personal coaching client, and he just does like one hour per month or something with them. And but because the individual is already like a wealthy person typically, and they are like committed to taking action, and like Tony is the one who they relate to, they're willing to pay him so much money. And like somebody like Tony could give the same information to somebody living on social security, like he will probably not even care, like who is this guy, like he does not relate to him probably. Like that's the way like in my eyes marketing works, and why some coaches like Tony are able to charge $1 million while others are still struggling.
Well, here's the funny thing, right? It's like when you engage with people, as you just said, you can either get it for free or low cost, or you can pay a lot of money. But let's be honest, the person that you're engaging with is going to pay more attention to you if you pay more attention to them. Sometimes it's via money, right? Sometimes it's just by setting up a communication channel and constantly engaging with them, giving them information, helping them understand, let's say, how does this work in Groove? It can be as simple as that, right? And those relationships, and this is what I want people to understand. You don't know who they know. And you are 6 degrees of separation from knowing over 1 million people. And the stats show, and you can get a calculator out and work this out yourself. If you can just get 1,000 people from across the globe to understand you and what you do, right, and are willing to follow you and are willing to pay you $1,000 each for that, just $1,000, right? Let's talk about LTVs and lifetime values and all of this other stuff, but just $1,000 times 1,000 people, that's $1 million. From there, from that point on, if you invest it, you learn a bit more from others, and you reinvest what you learn in other people, and you work together as teams, well, you can be set for life. You can be free, which is, by the way, for those who don't know, and I'm just going to drop it in here, Martin, if it's okay, the Groove platform, we have our Freedom Day event starting tonight at 8 p.m. GMT plus 8. You're welcome to come along. Have a listen. Have a listen to the entrepreneurs. Have a listen to Mike. Have a listen to Simon. Have a listen to some of the other people that are there, and you'll see that, is it easy? No. Right? Because number one, you've got to change your mindset about, you got to get from poor me to I'm ready to go me. And you've also got to get from employee me to entrepreneur me. And you've got to get from, I don't understand technology, to, I've got to spend some time learning some stuff, right? You've got to take some responsibility for yourself. But the minute you do
that's actually like something that I try to teach everyone in my community as well, in the AdsMadeFree community. And if you're watching this on YouTube, there's a link somewhere below in the description, and I will also put a link to Groove, obviously. But like, this is what I want to get to give people and leave people with, is you have to start building relationships with the right people. And like, I'm teaching free Facebook marketing essentially, and I believe like if you and build on a way that allows you to also build this communication channels with people, like on with the Facebook Messenger, with the Messenger tool that you can get from me. And it's a way to start much more conversations, and then having these personal conversations, and then leading them over into your Facebook group, or having them back on like watching the next YouTube video, watching more information, so like, which will also trigger the algorithms and different things, so more people will find me. But essentially, it's really about like building this relationship. And then once you have the feeling that you can learn more from me, that I can help you with your business, you might reach out to me, book me for a personal consultation session, or buy my course, which is hosted on the Groove platform through GrooveSell. And this is also what I believe is like, you talked about how Groove like will improve in the future and integrate with all these amazing 3.0 like infrastructure, or like even Web 5.0 infrastructure. But as it is right now, like personally, I believe all that you really need is like talking to the right people. Like Jim Rohn had a great quote, like, the easiest sales course in the world is just start talking to more people. And this is what I encourage people to do. And then basically all you need is a link inside like GrooveSell, like sending them, setting up the payment plan, like setting up how you want to get paid. Maybe it's a membership model, maybe it's like you want to get like a high like starting price, or then membership added on top of this, or like you're buying software from me, or like the GrooveSell makes this really easy. And it makes it also really easy already, like for people to, for example, share my product with others. Like, you can even send a link inside of Groove to this very YouTube video, and then if somebody joins my community and buys my product, like, you get paid affiliate commission from this, even though like I did not set up a dedicated landing page for this specific YouTube video. But all of this is already possible inside the Groove platform. And this is like what I really love about this. And I'm sure like that you will have all the things that I'm still missing from the platform, that they will come over time. But like, these are, for example, like things that I'm really excited. And with what you shared about the platform in general, I believe like now I can see so much clearer like why the lifetime option of Groove like is still such a fantastic deal, because you will be able like to, as you said, like future proof your business. Like, even if the price point is now I do not know, like over $2,000, something like this, maybe like there's different price point and different offers. But it like, especially if you're still getting the lifetime option, like it will future proof your business. And I'm also, and this is probably something that I will not do with any other platform, like if you buy this with my affiliate link, I will also give you my like Facebook Messenger, like secrets, like the way how to do free Facebook marketing, so you can actually talk to more people, and then you will be able like to use the Groove platform and then grow with the Groove platform. Like, this is currently what I believe. Like, Groove is currently not the right solution. Like, if you're already like Frank Kern and you're running millions of ad spend per month, because then an update like can cost him a lot of money because the platform is moving so fast. But it's really great for people like who really want to grow along with the platform, people like smaller creators like me, who have like smaller audiences, where it's like, yeah, there's a bug, yeah, I will just send you a new link, I will update this, and like, yeah, like where I can still communicate with people like one-on-one, and have them like on a smaller scale. Like, I'm not upsetting like 10,000 customers at once or something. Like, then I want to have something that's super stable. But if I only have 10 people, like, yeah, I can say like I can send them a message, hey, sorry, like this is not working, but it's being fixed right now. I'm talking to the support, or I'm even like with you, I had a technical problem, I reached out to you, and like this is now worked on and being fixed with some kind of integration or something. But that's okay, and this is what I believe is the biggest opportunity for Groove, for people to get into Groove, because they will be able to grow along with the platform. Or like, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, it's the connections again, right? It's being able to get in on the ground floor of something that's new. I mean, I said this to somebody the other day. They said, "Oh, I'm not sure about whether I want to, learn something new and build out on Groove." And I said, "Well, let me ask you a question, or let me pose to you a scenario. There's a guy that sits in a dorm college and he invites 25 people into his dorm room to show them a potential new platform. And out of those 25 people he invites, 12 show up. Out of the 12 that show up, when he finishes his pitch, 2 say, yeah, that sounds good, let's do it. That turns into Facebook, right? Now, those 2 people that said yes at the beginning of that Facebook scenario, you realize both of them are now multi-billionaires and you wouldn't even know their names. You would never have heard of them. They're not people that go out there and say, I'm an owner of Facebook. They just don't do it, right? But that's the opportunity. It's getting it on the ground floor. And what happened was then is that you build the relationships with people inside the community. I've got a problem with this. That's great. Let me help you with that. Somebody else says, well, I'm trying to work on this type of business. And somebody else goes, that's fantastic. So am I. Let's work together. You don't get that. If you go and buy a Microsoft product, you don't get that. You don't get that sort of community integration and help and support. You're buying more than software, right? You're paying for something, especially with the lifetime, which, by the way, is back, baby, but only for a short time, right? But you don't get the opportunity in most other companies to actually get in, pay for something once, get updates for life, make sure that your business is future-proofed, get into a community that can help you, build relationships, make contacts. I mean, here's the thing. Maybe I have something that you need, and maybe you have something that I need. That's the first way. It's a direct connection, right? But maybe just I don't have anything that you need, and you don't have anything that I need. But maybe what you do have is something that somebody else in my community needs. And so I'm happy to promote your product or service to my community, because why? That helps my community. This is about me helping the community, not helping myself. And if I help another, as many people as I can get what they want, it's an old adage, right? But guess what?
Yeah.
I get what I want too. And so having that infrastructure in place and the ability to be able to do that inside the Groove community and the GrooveAsia community is unheard of in any other business model out there. And that is another reason to get into this community, right? It's not just the software. It's not just the future. There are so many levels to this that it's just mind blowing once you understand what is already available, and yet what's coming is even better. And the relationships you can create are fantastic. I mean, I've got people in here now that, you start communicating with people that are multi millionaires, and you can do that from being a nobody, right? Where else do you get that opportunity? And you can do it for zero to begin with inside the community. Fantastic, right? That's why I say to people, get involved in what we do.
I've seen so many success stories there, and like even my success story is like really just doing exactly what you shared. Like when Groove took off, like in 2020, like I was engaging, like I was watching all the like all the webinars, all the like Grooveathons, like everything that Mike and Donna put out, and like Simon now, and really taking in this information. And then I've built my business basically, condensing it a little bit, putting it on my own blog, doing a review on Groove, Groove, and this is like or doing this interview with you, so people can get excited again, like with what's going to come. And this is something that I've noticed when I'm talking to Donna or when I'm talking to Mike. Like they're so excited about the future. Yeah, obviously there's like if I'm now having an integration problem with Groove, like this is the main thing that I'm carrying right now, because as an entrepreneur, like I really want to push my business forward today and not to tomorrow, and things like this. But on the other hand, like I've bought apps like Ever Webinar and until like Webinar Jam, when Mike just launched this like in 2013, and like until like Groove Live or Groove Stream or something that will replace Zoom comes out, like which is also included in the lifetime deal. Like I'm still happy I just paid like a small like one-time fee for the app, and then now I'm still able to use this for my webinars again. And like you still have the same opportunity when you get the lifetime deal of Groove. Like this is like, but you also have to be careful, because like there's places like AppSumo where you can buy a lot of like apps, and their companies do not have like a sustainable business model, and then you buy this and then the company dies a year later. I've had that happen like definitely more than once. And so you really, like when you invest into something like this, you really also want to have a really high chance that Groove will be around in 20 years. And because Mike is one of the smartest marketers on the planet, like you're so excited about this now, about like all this web, like all this new technology that we heard about today. And there's like so much opportunity for the future, and this is why I'm so excited like to work with you and Mike, and being able to see how Groove is developing, even though like there's still like as I said, daily changes, challenges with small things not working. But when you have a look at the bigger picture, you can see like why it's so exciting, and so much opportunities in all these areas that you outlined for all of us. Because in the end, like business is competitive. Like you're competing for attention, you're competing like in the eyes of your customers, you need to be better than all of your competitors, and you do that by really becoming the thought leader, the expert that is able to solve their problem at the time they have or counter a problem or want to grow in a certain area. And then like basically you share your knowledge. If you've built the relationship and you position yourself right with the right marketing frameworks and formulas and blueprints and things like this, there's a proven way to convert these people like from just having a great relationship to actually paying customers. And Groove is just a platform that allows you to take the money and then deliver the content or the product or whatever it is.
And for a lot of people, that's the important part, right? Take the money. They want the money, right? But I mean, you're right. You've got to build those relationships. And look, nothing's perfect. But as I said before, you need to be also thinking about long-term vision, right? Long-term vision. If you're an entrepreneur and you're getting into business, like you've just mentioned, Martin, you need to make sure that the company and the software that you're getting involved with is going to be around long-term. Now, one of the ways to do that is obviously to check out the founders, right? Check out their history, find out who they are and how things have worked for them. The other thing, though, is how big is their community? How many offshoots are there? How many dev projects are coming off what they're doing? If there's more and more and more and more people and tens of thousands of people getting involved, it's got a better sustainability pattern to it, right? It's a footprint, right? The second thing is if you're in business, do you really think you're going to just build up this thing, whatever it is that you want to build up, and then walk away in 12 months or 2 years or 5 years? No, the reality is you're going to be in this thing for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Maybe you want to build something that you can pass on. Maybe you want to leave a legacy to your family, right? And leaving them a bunch of tools and business opportunities that are already set for the next generation, for the future. What better thing could you do than that? Seriously, right? So look,
That's a great argument. Like I never thought about like that far actually, but yeah, that's actually what allows you to do. And like as you said, like there's also this effect like on off scale. Like now, like Groove is like still like relatively small, but the vision really goes to be like one of the big companies just competing with Active Campaign and like yeah, even I'm not like Active Campaign is one of the biggest like email marketing services, and like HubSpot and Salesforce, like they like the ones who are really big in business, and once like all the vision comes through, like with the APIs and things like this that other platforms do not even plan for, they yeah all integrate with API and things like this. But the Groove platform is built in a way that people can develop like specific apps or potentially dApps, as we've heard today, like for the Groove platform to make it better. And like with all the marketplaces that are planned for, no, not everything is like, again here, like currently they're focusing on their core software tools, which is the page builder, the GrooveSell platform, and the email marketing software, and the membership software, along with the videos. But I think like once these are really good, like everything that you've mentioned like will come on top to make this really future proof, and yeah, and like even future proof for the next generation, like, which is really cool.
yeah, it's quite exciting, and I mean, one of the things that is coming, and it's coming faster, not as fast as some of us developers would like it, right? But it's coming. Is that we're going to open source. We're going to open up Groove. We're going to allow you to create and integrate your own services into your own Groove platform. You're going to be able to develop dApps. We're going to show you the software and the new technologies. We're going to show you how this integration with Web3, Web4, and Web5 is going to affect you, and not just now, but into the future. And I get seriously excited about this because, again, as I just mentioned, the future is big. The future is bold. It's beautiful. Imagine a dApp that you create inside your business 5 generations down the track, because it's based on Web 5 and emotional web technology, and your great-great-grandchildren ask a question of the dApp: how did great-great-grandfather solve this problem in his business? And it emotionally talks back to them. Like, people, you've got to be able to envision where this is going. It is incredible technology, and you're sitting on the cutting edge of something that we honestly believe is going to change the face of the globe. And how much do we believe in that? Well, aside from the fact that some super huge companies have approached Groove and asked for a buyout, and we've said no. And Mike has said no. And it's never going to happen, because we want to be at the forefront of this technology. We want to give power back to the business owners. We want to give power to you to decide your future. And that ultimately is what Groove is about. It's more than just software. It's more than just community, right? It's so much more than that. And so if you don't have an account, go to Martin's link below this video and get one, right? Get one today. Start playing with it. Just the same as Web3. Just the same as a mobile phone. Do you remember your first mobile phone? Oh my God, how fun was that? How frustrating was that? How do I add in phone numbers? But you know what? You got over it. So get over it. Get into it. Get into the technology. Enjoy it. Go along for the ride and change the future, not only for yourself, but for the next generations to come, and leave some form of legacy behind. That is my final note on this, Martin.
Okay, thank you so much, Nicolas. And if you want to learn more about Groove, there's also a video somewhere next to this, like that I will post like right up, so you can learn about the platform. You can learn about more about Groove, about like where things are moving. So I will recommend another video there. And thank you so much, Nicolas, for being on this, like sharing all this really great knowledge with us. And I'll see you in the next video.